Well, it was an incredible meeting at the Alzheimer's Association International Conference this year. We had over 11,000 attendees from over 139 countries. And what was really exciting to see was the momentum that has really taken place in this field. And it's everything from diagnosis to treatments that we were seeing presented at the meeting. And as you noted, I think some of the things that were most interesting to a lot of us were around how are we thinking about treating Alzheimer's disease and other types of dementia. There was a number of studies that were focused on reporting out clinical trial data, everything from phase 1 to phase 3 clinical trials, but we also saw clinical trial data that was focused on lifestyle interventions. So not just pharmacotherapeutic studies that we were seeing, but really therapeutics from all angles, thinking about devices, thinking about lifestyle intervention, all of those different types of approaches are being tested today and were presented at the meeting. We know that there are FDA-approved treatments for Alzheimer's disease, and there's more in the pipeline. What we continue to see is a diversification of the treatments that are being developed today for Alzheimer's disease, but also all types of dementia. One of the things that we really saw this year, I think, was a heavy focus on updates around some of the treatments that had even been approved by the FDA. And some of those are really focused on the sort of disease slowing or the disease targeting treatments that were approved by the FDA in 2023 and 2024. And those are the ones that are targeting the amyloid beta in the brain. These are lecanemab, Leqembi, donanemab, Kisunla. These treatments really target one of the key hallmarks of changes that are happening in the brains of individuals with Alzheimer's disease. And what we saw reported at AAIC this year was really some of the long-term extension studies that are continuing to follow participants who had been taking these treatments as part of the phase 3 clinical trials, but are now being studied for up to 3 to 4 years now, taking some of these amyloid targeting treatments. And I think one of the trends that we saw across many of the presentations that took place at AAIC was that taking these treatments longer has a durable effect. The effect has a clinically meaningful benefit, and we're continuing to see separation of the cognitive and functional sort of decline that might be happening in individuals living with Alzheimer's disease. That disease, the treatment is actually slowing down the disease process. And this continues to happen across the 3 to 4 years with both lecanemab and donanemab treatment. And we're definitely seeing trends in the data that demonstrate that people who start treatment earlier stages of Alzheimer's disease continue to show improvement in their clinical scores, even after 3 to 4 years of these therapies, which really is demonstrating that getting started early on these treatments, earlier stages of mild cognitive impairment due to Alzheimer's or mild Alzheimer's dementia, really are likely to have more benefit on individuals that are living with the disease. So we continue to see at AAIC this year a number of research studies that were talking about new tools for detection as well as diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease and other types of dementia. We know that even as these diseases are currently diagnosed today, there's no single test that's really going to determine if a person is living with Alzheimer's disease or another type of dementia. Clinicians are using a combination of diagnostic tools along with medical history, as well as neurological exams, cognitive exams, physical exams, and biomarker testing to really help create an accurate diagnosis for an individual. What we saw presented at AAIC this year, though, was very much focused on how we're moving more towards implementation of using some of these types of tools in the clinic. And we saw sessions that were focused on development of clinical practice guidelines, especially for those that are focused on early detection around cognitive impairment that could be done in primary care settings. The Alzheimer's Association is leading a clinical practice guideline focused on this very particular type of assessments that might really be able to be used as brief tests that could be used for early detection of cognitive impairment, including in individuals that may have MCI or dementia. But another clinical practice guideline that was presented at the association's conference was one on blood biomarkers being used in specialty care. And can these tests be used as either an initial test in the diagnostic workup of patients with cognitive impairment in specialized care, or can they be used as a confirmatory test, meaning could they be used in place of cerebrospinal fluid or even PET imaging as a way to aid in the diagnosis in specialty care settings. So these clinical practice guidelines are really critical because it's allowing us to distill the best available evidence that exists and really translates it into clear and actionable recommendations for clinical practice so that doctors can be able to use the right test on the right patient at the right time.